welcome. We are excited that you guys are here. We're excited that you guys are here and people are watching. And we got some good responses about the first episode about blended families. And we are back with episode 2, and we're talking about
Newlyweds.
We have our good friends Christian and Melissa here.
The Smiths.
The Smiths. Mr. and Mrs. Do you guys get that?
Yes.
We do.
Okay, all right, good times.
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about newly married. We're going to be talking about
The newness of marriage.
All that is encompassing in the newness of marriage. Yes. Not that we're like OGs in the game and that we know heck of stuff.
Yeah,
because
but
we're definitely
OGs
babies in the game. Okay, so we are OGs in the game apparently.
Because kids age you.
They have kids. So listen, anyways, we're gonna get into it. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for joining us.
It is a pleasure.
Appreciate
I like that y'all did y'all red with the
I
red.
know, that's
couch.
right,
that's
right. Hashtag
Newlyweds.
The
sermon.
Have blood.
Oh. If you was at church today, then you know what we're talking about. But if you wasn't, you should have been watching on stream.
Shout out to Hope's House.
Okay, there we go. So listen, we want to jump right into it.
Yeah,
Let's do it. We're ready.
So tell me this first. How
Yes.
long have you guys been married?
For 3 months. 3 months. A little over 3 months.
A little over 3
90
months.
days.
Hey, you see how Christian had that answer though?
Yep.
He did.
Christian
Otherwise,
had
I
that
get
answer.
cut.
You don't want to get
Don't
cut.
get cut.
Nope.
Let's not get cut.
So that's still pretty new. That's
pretty
pretty
new.
darn new.
Yeah,
it
pretty
is.
new.
That's why we're still in the matching stages.
Yes, the matching stages.
Still
Don't do the
matching.
sweatsuits though. Don't match sweatsuits. If you match sweatsuits, like real talk, that's not cool.
Enough is enough.
Like if you do like joggers, but like full like top and bottom sweatsuits, I don't think.
What
that's
about
it.
running shoes?
running shoes? Like I can give you
Different
that.
colors?
His
just blue
and
pink?
hers
His and
is
hers,
fine.
I can give you that.
Okay.
Matching. See, you don't want to match. You want to coordinate.
Guys, it's 2016.
It's 2016.
Coordinate.
So yeah.
guys are coordinating.
Listen, but the question everybody wants to know. What do you think the number one question is that people ask you? What's the number one question? Newlyweds, what they ask you? Be real.
So how's the new life going?
How's the new life?
How's marriage?
Christian tried to PC that. Christian, how's the sex happening?
That's
this is
what
what
we
everyone
want
wants to know. This is what everyone wants to
you know,
know. Everyone wants to know is amazing. You guys are having a great time. It's wonderful. Love in the love in the building. So much love.
Go ahead,
We
babe.
decided that
We're not ready for
we're not
that.
doing that.
Okay, great.
No, we're just kidding. It's good. I'm totally just kidding.
We're just gonna abstain.
No,
Yeah,
no, absolutely not.
Made
It's
me
good.
so hot.
Woo!
No.
Woo!
Oh, no.
Caught you off guard, huh?
Y'all on that new
You
stuff.
guys are on that.
Yeah.
You guys are so much better than us.
Stuff.
I can't even tell
Oh
you.
man, they are saved.
Listen. All good. No, we wanted to just break the ice with that question and just goof around a little bit. But really, like
But really,
that's the number one question I feel like people ask or when they're inquiring about how is the
So, how's
newness of
married
marriage
life?
when they
Yep.
PC it for you.
Yeah.
How's married life is kind of what people are getting to and joking around about. But it's such an important component of married life, all joking aside,
Yep.
that it's such a powerful way that we communicate with each other.
Right.
How big of a role is it playing in your marriage or relationship? It's only 3 months in, but
Well, I would say this. For me, for us being Christians and practicing the abstinence of sex before marriage, it definitely does add something new. That is different, that many other people don't get to have the experience, because a lot of people say, oh, well, it's kind of the same, it's kind of this, it's kind of that. But the simple fact that we haven't had that, and now it's a part of our relationship,
Right.
it adds something that is completely new for us
Wow.
and exciting
Wow.
and thrilling.
that's awesome.
So, in that aspect, is good.
That's great, man. And you don't always hear that because
nobody's not doing it.
because people have stepped over the boundary
Right.
and
Exactly.
have done it a different way, and done it outside of God's way. And thank goodness for the grace, but thank goodness for doing it right. Thank goodness for
An example.
for being an example. Way to go.
Yes. And it makes the night so much more powerful.
There you go.
Because
Because there's something to look forward to,
Right.
Yeah.
right? It's not the
Right.
same thing you've always
And that's
done.
just keeping it real.
That is keeping it real.
Thank you. That's what we like to do on the Red Couch. Like to keep it real. Keep it real.
Yeah, that's good.
One other thing that we wanted to talk about in relation to new marriage we know that Hope's House has marriage counseling, and you guys went through it. We went through it as well. Shout out, good times. What are your thoughts? Do you recommend it? Was it beneficial? How do you feel like it's helped you or not helped you? Like, what are your thoughts on marriage counseling?
It's definitely, I very much recommend it. If you're planning to get married or serious dating or anything like that, or even engaged, even if you set a date on marriage, if you have a marriage date, it's very important. It opened up so many doors and a lot of conversations that, not that we've avoided, but we didn't think of. And so, and you get paired up with marriage couple who have been through it, and that can help you and guide you to the sensitive subjects that I didn't want to talk about, to be quite frank. And it kind of gave us that push, and it was the process. No one wants to go through the process, but at the end result, it was so much better, and I was able to breathe better. It was just like, you know.
I feel like, if anything, it's like an opportunity for you to get to do something hard together, like right away.
Yes.
Yeah. Like even before you get married, right? Because people are like, marriage is hard. You got to work through hard times together, and the class is intense, and it's a microscope on some issues that, like you said, you don't want to talk about or you don't want to bring up, or like, well, why does that matter? But the truth is, your past does matter, and it does affect your marriage. And I feel like that's such a good opportunity if you're saying we are committing ourselves to each other for life, right? This is a good time to practice dealing with some tough stuff together before you actually jump in. Right? What would you say is were your biggest takeaways? Like, because it's a long class, it's like however many weeks, or 3 months or something like that. And I know that there's so many nuggets, right? So many aha moments. Like it's hard to kind of hone in on, this was the thing that spoke to me, that I know this is my takeaway, like from the whole experience. Like, what would you say is the biggest piece individually for you guys?
I would say transparency. Transparency in your past, finances, and different things that will arise only after you guys officially come together as one. And things that were once separate that now you have to bring together, and opening up to one another about those things and figuring out how to take care of those things as one.
Yeah,
It's huge.
absolutely.
Is there like a big example for you when you say transparency? Because sometimes we say it and it's like, we just throw that word out there, transparent. I want to be transparent. But is there something specific, an example that you would say, transparent about that?
I said it. Finances for us was one of the big things, you know, and bringing up, you know, like for me, student loans, and her having the understanding that she's coming into that, and her having accounts aside for Mia, which is now both of our daughters, but for Mia, and me not knowing about that, and those things kind of coming up, and us now having access to all of it, and working together on taking care of it. So, you know, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I would agree. Transparency, as far as I had to really allow Christian to come into my life, and I was very guarded and very, no, I'm protecting what I have, because this is what I have control over. And it was very difficult, but I think the transparency with finances is huge for me. It's just like, no, I've been on my own for X amount of years. This is what I have put aside for Mia and for myself. And really just opening up about my past, and being able to allow him to enter that with me, so that he may understand where I'm coming from when certain things come up. That was really, really, really difficult for me. Like I said, with the process, I didn't want to go through it. And I definitely didn't want anybody to be in that, you know, but
it feels very invasive, like, this is my business only. This is my, it feels very invasive,
But like I said, I wasn't able to see at the end of the tunnel until I actually got through it. And when I was able to get through it with him, I felt so much better. You know, I have the support, I have the prayer, I have everything that I didn't think that I needed until God presented him to me, and it's wonderful.
That's great.
And without that in the class, you know, we could have entered the marriage without having a clue.
This is
and
what
that
I'm
would
saying.
have come up
This is
later
what I'm
on down the
saying.
line.
And then what do you do?
I hear people getting married all the time, and like, you didn't have no marriage counselor?
Right.
Y'all didn't talk to
That's
nobody?
the same
Right.
thing I would say,
It's
man.
the very simplest way I can explain it is it's like going to college and never seeing a counselor.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you're going to a
signing up
JC, you're
for
just like
stuff.
signing up for classes,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then like 2 years down the line, you finally sit down with somebody and go like, that's not transferable. That's
Yep.
not transferable.
Yeah.
That's not transferable. And they just start crossing stuff out. And you're like, I took those classes. Well, they
Doesn't
don't
matter.
mean anything.
Right.
It's no use to you because you should have come to see me, and I could have given you a heads up on like how to handle this. Let me ask, did you guys? So you mentioned the marriage mentors that you got. Have you placed any calls to them in your first 3 months? Have you had to ring them on the phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Which is good. That's
Which
what
is
they're there
we,
for.
We did the same thing,
We did the same
in a
thing.
relative short amount of time.
Yeah.
Relative short. There was a girl a friend that I knew that I'd known for a long time, and her and her husband were moving, and I was like, I'm gonna go say hi. I'm gonna say bye to my friend at her house, and Adrian was like, no,
you're not.
You're not about to go to some woman's house. And I was
Listen,
like,
it's a long story.
It's a long story.
This podcast is not about us.
Right.
But
But we had to
Other
place that.
context.
We had to place that call.
We had to place
Shout
that
out to
call.
Corey and Latora. We had to place that call and say, how do we handle this? Because I'm right, and she said I'm right, and we need a third party.
Right.
And it was great. It was great
Good.
for me to really hear a man tell me, "Hey, Rod, so just so you know, you're wrong in this area. You're wrong in this area." And so this is how we can get past that. And hear a woman tell Adrian, he's gonna mess up again in this area.
Wow.
Because he's 30 some odd years old, and he's been living this way for all of this time, independent, doing his own thing, living his own life. So it's not gonna be one fell swoop that he's just going to think married.
now I'm a husband.
Husband.
I'll never have single man thoughts again.
Right. So I say that to tee you guys up. What whatever you're coming. What did you have to talk about?
That's all you, baby girl. All you, baby.
There's been a couple issues, but I think for me it's finances to make sure that we're secure. Me is secure. I'm secure. You know, I've never had that, and when I make things as Lord, you know what we need in our lives, and when we talked about finances in the marriage class, and everything was out in the open. Once we got married, and once we started going through the process of trying to buy, some other things came up, and I was just like, but you said, and of course I couldn't lash out at him. I had to call someone, and I called my mentors, Marcelo and Lisbeth, and
Shout out to Marcelo and Lisbeth.
and and she really spoke to me, and she said the same thing. He's gonna mess up. He's trying to get it together. You need to be with him, help him, be his helper. Don't nag him. Don't And she was giving me some wise wisdom, and I really had to just sit back and allow the process of that resolving, in due time. And that's why going back to counseling, it is important, because they're not just there before, they're there during and after.
Yep.
So.
And I think married people, I'm concerned that a lot of married people that we encounter, what you said about letting the process happen, right? It's a process that you're supposed to have your whole life to figure out. So why anyone would think that after 90 days or 2 years or 5 years, it doesn't even who is the one that's saying you should have had this down by now?
Yeah.
Right? You need to let the process work itself out. And it is a little
Sticky.
Yeah, it's a little, but you have to let the process work itself out because there's a huge learning curve from single life to married life. It's a huge learning curve, and you have to give people the grace to vet out the process. I think that's super important.
Mm-hmm. I always say that there's a single version of Roger, and there's a married version of Roger. And for the married version of Roger to live, the single version has to die.
Yeah.
And it sounds super like invasive, like, dude, like, calm down, like, whatever. But it's so true.
Yes.
It's so true.
Because both can't exist.
They can't exist in this 40, 50 years.
Not in the place of peace.
No,
that's not going to work. Because the single version of me has different wants, needs, desires than the married version. One of the things that we did in kind of like our marriage constitution, right, which some folks do, is just kind of set up some ground rules. And one of the ground rules was that we don't make new single friends. Mm-hmm. If we know people who are single when we got married and they single, then great. But I'm not going to go out and seek and find here's of the opposite sex or the same sex, because and it's no dig to people who are single, but they have different wants,
life.
they have different life, they're doing different things. And if we all go hang out and I go hang out with a bunch of single dudes and they looking and checking for whoever's coming through, then I'm stirred to be in that company, but that's not the company that I'm in anymore. So I need to surround myself with people who are like-minded and who are doing the same things.
Right, kind of from expectations swinging into what do you expect out of an argument, right? Because for me, I have had previous situations where arguing got out of hand, right? And I feel like that's a dangerous place because it's not that I expect there to be no disagreements, right? But disagreeing and arguing are not necessarily the same thing. And I had gotten to a place where I used to be like the queen of like, well, let's just break up. If I feel like anything is going to lead us to an argument,
that struck a little nerve,
right? Because rather than argue, we don't have to be together. Like it's not whatever. That sounds really mean to say. It's just not that serious. Like especially pre-marriage. Like I'm not that vested. Whatever. It'll be okay. We have no reason to sustain in this arguing place. You can just go to your house and I'll just go to my house and that'll just be it.
Adrian has a wonderful gift. I like to call the gift of goodbye. The gift of goodbye.
But in marriage, that's not an option,
nope.
Right? That's not an option. So
it's not.
It's not an option. You don't go home to your house. We at home. So how do we argue? Especially in the newness of marriage, right? There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of arguable moments, right? Because you're sharing space, you're sharing money, sharing everything. Yes. So are you not bringing stuff up because you don't want to be the first one to have how do you, we're only 90 days in. Am I really going to be the one to break the argument? Were you like at the honeymoon, like, we got to talk about this?
Some stuff.
Some stuff. How do you argue? Have you argued? Are you purposely not arguing? Are you waiting till you hit 120 days before you have an argument?
We don't argue. I mean, there's been some disagreements, definitely, but I can't hold it in. I have to let him know, because then it takes over, and then he would be able to see that, and he would try to be able to hug me, and I'll be like, because it's occupying me so much. Yeah. And my thing in the past used to be, I was raised, don't say anything. Keep it all inside. And so I can't allow that to happen, because then it would take me to a different place in my life that I don't ever want to go back to. So with me, I'll tell him. I have to think of how I'm going to tell him, because then my old self would be like X, Y, and Z,
right?
And not even care of the tone or the manner,
right?
But I really have to.
You got something up there?
I really have to
Right.
think about it first, and then sometimes after me saying it, if and if it didn't sound right, I'd be like, oh, it didn't sound right. I'm sorry, But I definitely not arguing, and I don't want that for us. But we would definitely have some discussions, sit down, serious discussions as far as what we are able to do to get through this. But did you want to?
Yeah. No, I mean, what she said is right. Especially sometimes in the past, I would try to figure out if she was upset or not because she wouldn't let me know. So she's right. The hug that you try to see. Okay, well, I don't know. She's mad at me. Let me. Yep, she's mad at me because she's like, hey, what did I do? And that's when the question starts coming. She's like, I'm not mad. Like, what do you mean you're not mad?
Right.
But she's right. We haven't had many yet.
Yeah.
Not arguments, but just
just some
definitely
intense fellowships is what we like to
Intense
say.
fellowship.
Or
Intense
brother
sister.
sister night. No, I'm just kidding. We're tonight. We're brother and sister. So shout out Elizabeth and Marcelo. So. But no, we haven't had brother sister night. So
We have a. I'm sharing our secrets, right? So we have something called the Mad Max.
Mm-hmm.
So the Mad Max is if it's that real to you, right? Not on small stuff. We're talking about like on big stuff, right? That don't hug me type of brother sister night, right? You have 24 hours to either the person who's mad, right? You have 24 hours to either come on the other side of your madness and discuss why you're angry, right? Because I'm kind of like, I'm very opposite of I have to talk about it. I don't have to ever talk about it, right? Like I'm cool with just, you know what? Okay, I took mental note of that, and I just internalize it. I'm not necessarily forthcoming. So you have 24 hours, and I think we both don't ever want to be arguing. So we have potential to both just be not speaking. You know what I'm saying? So you have 24 hours to either discuss it. You maybe not resolve it. Everything's not resolvable in one night, one magic night, But to get it, okay, this is why I'm angry. Let's put it out on the table and leave it there. We'll come back to it tomorrow. Or if the 24 hours passes and you don't bring it up, then you have to move on.
squash.
On the 25th hour, you're not mad anymore, and we're moving on.
Wow.
Because that's not fair, right? And we're not gonna do this
Be walking around the house
for a
mad
week, not speaking,
2 days,
and
3 days.
yeah, especially with kids in the house. I can't deal with that type of tension in the house, and so you can tell if somebody's a little spicy. Do you need the Mad Max?
Yeah.
Like,
Max.
do you need the Mad Max? Right.
Yeah.
And you say
in between the red couch. Mad Max.
Mad Max when you're too hot. No, just kidding. But something like to say, we have to just establish we're not going to be walking around here and not speaking, and I don't even know why.
That's good. And you genuinely move on.
You genuinely have to.
Yeah, you
move on.
Within that 24 hours, if you decided that you're not going to talk about it, then you need to resolve it. You and the Lord need to figure that out. Yeah. And you need to move on. Because you can't just be walking around the house with that on you. Again, to her point, especially with kids in the house, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Mad Max. Not to be confused with the Mini Max, which I want to segue to. The Mini Max is another rule in the Melvin household, and now we'll
We're
end
sharing
on
this
a
Newlywed.
high note.
And on a high note.
So the Mini Max is this: we like to have a negative association with getting hollered at by people, right? So you think you look fly, you went out, some dude tried to get at you, some girl tried to get at you.
Yes.
I want that to feel negative to you, right? So that's where the Mini Max comes in. If you got dressed today and you think you look pretty fly, you can opt for the Mini Max, right? That's an off the top fine of $12, right? You can just take it. But if you're like, nah, I'm good, I'm not, I don't need the Mini Max, and you go out and somebody try to get at you, you got to come tell me the story, and I get to assess a monetary value to getting hit on, and then I want my money. So right. So for example, if Adrienne goes out to work, she didn't take the Mini Max, she got dressed pretty fly, and she go to work, and somebody holler at her in the elevator.
Wait, let's clarify. This is not I got dressed fly in hopes to get.
No.
Yeah.
But you out. You get hollered at.
Okay,
Yeah, Melissa
right.
went out. She went to work. Some dude was like, "Hey, what you doing? How you doing?"
Right.
You got to come tell the story to Christian, and Christian says, "Oh, okay, so that's what happened."
hard.
Oh, so
He rolled
did
his
you talk
window
to him
down?
back?
That's
He
an
rolled his
extra
window
50
back?
cents.
Oh, that's an extra. I always just like me. Anytime that my baby's is with,
Everything's an extra
is with her, that's like a $5
Extra
fine. Like
$5.
just extra, just.
Oh, and you had the
each
kids
person.
too?
We had the
Oh,
kids.
no, it's extra $5.
$20 off top. I want money. Give me my cash.
And here's the thing: the person who is got at, that's a term. Got at, right? You don't get to input on whatever fine he assesses.
Yeah, I get to.
You have to just let him assess the fine.
Or her. Assess the fine.
Wow.
So,
And think like some key fee factors, right? Could be kids with you, right?
kids with you.
If especially if
You left your ring at home.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
You're getting paid if you leave your ring at home.
That's
You're
a good
getting
one.
paid, and you got holiday.
What?
So check this out.
Yeah.
I'm so smooth on my game. I keep a backup ring in my car just in case I left my ring at home. And sometimes she'll call me. Sometimes it'll be like, "I see you left your ring at home." I'll be like, "I see I got my backup on. Better watch out in these streets. I'm out here."
But it's good to not, because here's the reality, right? There might be a day where I'm on the Mad Max, right? So now I go to work and somebody else, because all it takes is one little sliver of something to cause division, right? So I'm on the Mad Max, I go to work, somebody gets at me and I'm feeling some kind of way about my husband. So now I entertain a compliment that I normally wouldn't, right? Not with an intent to cheat or anything, but because I'm feeling some kind of way. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you. Oh, I like that. Oh, thank you. Now I'm engaging in conversation with some stranger who would never. You know, that's not in your nature. But because you're in a place, right? Maybe not after 90 days or however many years it's been for us, but there will be a time, right, where your spouse has pissed you off, a certain level of passivity. Passivity. Yes,
that's a word.
Yes, hashtag passivity. And you need a negative association with other people. I'm going to go spiritual, lusting after you, right? Because that's all that is, really, right? Like, how often has it been somebody got at you and it was like a legit, hey, I'd like to date you? No, it's not that, right? It's, something about your body or whatever, you know? So we just like to...
Just wanted to share that.
Mad Max and Mini Max.
Mad Max and
Mad
Mini
Max.
Max. You know? So yeah. But we wanted to ask you guys, that's our give that out, right? In the first 90 days, anything you want to share to the audience or maybe to your pre 90 day selves that you'd be like, hey man, so in 90 days this is gonna happen. You look out for this, or this might be helpful to know.
Man.
Or the people who are newlyweds, who are
I would just say, if you are engaged, get some counseling. That is the best piece of advice that I can get you. Get some counseling, get educated, because you think you know, but you have no idea. So, and always remember that even after you get married, if you've been married for a couple of years, that it's always a process, and that you're always going to have to be working on it. And I think having that knowledge will set the tone for your future.
And communicate very well. Communication, I think, is key. You know, I'm still working on it, but I thank God that I have a man of God who is patient with me and who accepts me and Mia as we are. Because it's always a process. There's always a different stage in life, with kids or with marriage or milestone. You're always going to work on things. So I think being open with one another is definitely important, and stay connected to counseling or to someone who has wise wisdom, who has more years underneath their belt is very key as well.
And if you're a godly man, well, even if you're not, if you're a man and if you have a woman, you want to make sure that she is a godly woman. Because
even if you're not godly,
make sure she is.
Make sure she's godly, because she will keep you in check. And it also goes with down the line of the fact that in the household, you're going to want to make sure that you're covering her and protecting her, and she will keep you in prayer for that simple reason, because you're going to want to pray for her and protect her, and she'll keep you in check.
So what is the worst advice you've had?
The worst advice that I've had,
or like bad, useless advice, maybe.
I think bad advice that I've had is to find a way to still be yourself. Like do the things that you still like to do. That's not always necessarily true, because it's no longer just me, and I'm responsible for us. So I can do something that made me happy in the past, and it was something that I enjoyed, that I liked, but she's in the picture now, And so that changes. And that goes back to
Right.
what you said earlier, the single you versus the married you. 'Cause
Yeah.
once you're married, you're now joined with
good.
somebody else. So it can't just be all about you. You know.
Do you, Christian? Make sure you do you.
Yeah, do you, but no, I can't just do me.
You're
I
right.
gotta do us. I
Right.
gotta do us.
Man, do us.
You gotta do
Hashtag
us.
do us. Let's go.
And I think that could be damaging advice. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's, I mean, I've gotten advice, where,
Go ahead and say it.
I mean, where I didn't have to be open about my past. You don't need to let him know. It doesn't, you don't need to let him know. It's okay, that's your past.
I don't
That's
like
not
that.
ever gonna come up. And I was just like, really? That's true? Yeah, that's okay. But then, it was bad. It was real bad. And I
Listen,
was
if
just
you
like,
if
okay.
you if you gave that advice to her, that was bad.
Slap yourself.
Slap yourself. That was such bad advice.
Slap yourself.
Yo, so this is the Red Couch Chronicles. Thank you very much
Couch.
for enjoying. Thank you guys
Thank
for
the
coming
Smiths.
out. Thank the
Thank you,
Smiths,
thank you,
Mr. and
thank
Mrs.
you guys
Smith.
for having us.
Thank you
We
very much. We
appreciate it.
appreciate it. I'm glad you guys
Thank
just got to
you.
come to the house and
Yes.
chill
Yes.
and spend some time with us. And we want to do it again and feed you next
Yes.
time. And hopefully we won't be Daniel fasting and we can have some steak.
Yes.
Chicken and some
Yes.
shrimp. It's gonna be
That sounds
amazing.
good.
All right, next week. Yes. All right. But until then,
Thank you for joining the Red
thank
Couch.
you for joining us.
You guys.
Tweet us on something tweetable. Don't tweet us. Just kidding.
Get your Mad Max and Mini Max on.
Bam. Bam. Thank you.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.